What's going on, motivators? Happy you're here. If you're watching this video, either you want to learn more about the VA appraisal process, or perhaps you're in the unfortunate position of having your appraisal come up short. Now, what does that mean? That means that when the appraiser went out to go value the house, they didn't value it for what you're purchasing it for. If you were purchasing a $315,000 house, but the appraised value came in at $305,000, well, you're going to have a bit of a difficult time because the lender can only lend up to the appraised amount. And if you had a seller's concession built into there, well, then you're in real trouble because guess what? Now that seller's concession is gone. Now, if you want to learn more about seller's concessions, I'm going to do it on a follow-up video. So you can also comment and subscribe to my page to learn anything and everything there is to know about the VA loan. I'm your veteran mortgage advisor, Justin Chermak. But enough about that. Let's dive real quick into it. What is the two things you need to do when your property under appraises? All right. Number one, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into something called Tidewater. Now, within 48 hours of the notice of value being issued, which is NOV, the notice of value, you are now in Tidewater. What the appraiser does is he will let the lending institution know that your appraisal is going to come up short, whereas it is at risk of coming up short. Now, that lender, if you have a good lender like myself, should be getting back in touch with those real estate agents to let them know, hey, this appraisal is going to come in low. Please send me over comps. Please send me over what I need so that we can get this veteran into the house or this service member into the house. Now, here's the thing. What are comps? Comps are comparables, comparable properties which are similar, not exactly similar, but very similar to the properties that you are buying. What does that mean? Well, an appraiser is going to look at a couple different factors. They're going to look at when the house was sold. For instance, they might look at properties that were sold within the last 6 months. Probably won't go up past a year, even if it is a specific property. And they're going to look at properties that were sold within a 1 mile radius. They may extend it out if you're in a more rural development or if there is a tough time finding comps. But the typical, what they're looking for is houses that sold within 6 months that are within 1 mile of the subject property. And that is the subject ideal that they're looking for. What these realtors have to do is they need to provide 3 to 5 comparable properties to show that the value is going to come in for what we want it to come in for. If that value was $315,000 and we're looking for a $315,000 purchase, we're going to want to show comps that support that value point. We're going to want to show comps that may be sold similar that are $325,000 or $350,000 or even $310,000 to show that we are looking at a property that is not worth what the appraiser is saying that it's worth. That is the first thing to do, is Tidewater. And that's, you have to act on that within the first 48 hours. Otherwise, you lose the opportunity to dispute that. Now, you're disputing that with the actual appraiser themselves. So you're not disputing that with anyone else. Your agent is going to send over the comps over to your lender, who then is going to send them over to the appraiser to make sure that the appraiser takes into account those comps that were submitted when determining what the value of your property is. Now, that's the first method. The second method is called reconsideration of value, or an ROV. Now, an ROV you can submit at just about any time. Now, no, you can't submit it a year after the fact, but you don't have this 48-hour deadline window in which to submit it with. So it looks a little bit different. It's still the same exact process. Your lender is still going to notify you. They're going to notify your realtor, and you guys are all going to have to come together to find some comps to submit over. Only the real difference here is you're not submitting it over to the appraiser. Now you're submitting it directly over to the VA themselves. You're working with the VA to figure out and determine the actual value of the property. Now, here's the thing. Reconsiderations of value, on average, taken in 2022, had a 79% success rate when submitted. But here's the other alarming statistic, is that only 5% of appraised properties that went VA, which came under value, were submitted for a reconsideration of value. Why is that? Well, there's a myriad of reasons, most of them just being laziness and ignorance, because most people don't know how to go through the process, which is why you need to stay with a VA trusted lender, someone you know knows what they're doing. But that's besides the fact. Let's focus on the positives here. 79% is a significant statistic, and that means that you are getting more value and you are having a success rate. Now, what that means is you're not necessarily having it come in for the full value, but it's coming in for significantly higher than it was. Let's say you had that property, that scenario I gave you, $315,000, but it appraised for $305,000, and you can only get a loan up to $305,000 now. You're liable for that $10,000 difference. But if you do the Tidewater and the reconsideration of value, you have a much higher chance of coming in closer to the value that you were anticipating. For instance, let's say you were purchasing a property at $315,000 and your appraisal came in at $305,000. Maybe you're going to come in around $312,000 when all is said and done. And then instead of having to come out of pocket with $10,000, you're only coming out of pocket with $3,000. I hope this helped you to understand the VA appraisal process a little bit better. Now, what I'm going to be doing in my next video is I'm going to be going over the reconsideration of value worksheet that I use, that I send out, as well as a couple other really good things to consider. As always, follow and subscribe to this page if you want to learn all there is to know about using your VA home loan. I'm your veteran mortgage advisor, Justin Chermak. You can reach out to me anytime at 631-525-0231. Always reminding you, stay motivated.